No wonder Indore is considered the cleanest city in India because we've seen some clean hitting by the Indian batters. A long list of contributors, two centurions, two half centurions have made India reach 399, set a target of 400 for Australia. Shreyas Iyer with 105, Shubman Gill with 104, Suryakumar Yadav with 72, Rahul got a 50 as well. Welcome, gentlemen. Zach and DK, thank you for joining in. It's been a run feast on this flat pitch.
Well, small venue. We were expecting that the pitch might be tough to bowl on, and that's something which was on display today for sure. There is no doubt about it. Maybe if there was some turn on offer, then things would have been different. But the ball was coming onto the bat nicely, and to add to that, the way we've seen Shubman Gill's footwork and stepping down to the fast bowlers has made lives difficult for any bowler. Would have made lives difficult for any bowler to bowl on this kind of a pitch. The kind of tempo was set by Shreyas also. I think he was the one who set the tempo right for the innings. Was more aggressive, and then Shubman just took over from there. On the whole, it was just a perfect display of batting by the team. They'll be very proud of this kind of scorecard because the top three contributing with hundreds, and then the middle order basically capitalizing on that has been the hallmark. To add to that, you've seen such an innings from Surya Kumar Yadav. When he plays, he bats at 200 strike rate, and that's why, irrespective of the form, you got to persist with him because this kind of ability we've not seen from many. On their day, they're not able to score at this strike rate what Surya bats at.
DK, we'll get to analyzing everyone separately because everyone deserves a segment. But let's just look at the innings progression if we can see it again. The run rate was phenomenal. Only the 21st to the 30th over, we see the run rate dip a little bit. But from the start and the last 10 overs, a run rate of 10.30.
Right from the outset, it was Shreyas Iyer who decided how things need to be done in Indore. I thought he came out all guns blazing. Shubman took a leaf out of his book. In fact, played a few shots which are very different to what he does, just like what Zach said, which is stepping out to a fast bowler. We haven't seen him do that so often. So it was really good to see Shubman and Shreyas do what they did. Yes, they slowed down between 21 and 30. Sometimes that bound to happen. Especially I can understand with Shreyas Iyer, who needed that 100, who needed to show everyone and himself that he is back in and he deserves a spot in the starting 11. Shubman Gill, interestingly, really found it hard in the middle phase. I thought Zampa bowled well through that middle phase, controlled whatever they could do with some real good batting, and also showed how strong they are. Scoring 189 in the back 20 is pure skill, and we've seen KL Rahul up a gear, and was very good to watch what KL Rahul did right from the outset, just the way he came out there, second ball, 6, and then kept going from there on. And then you move on to Surya Kumar Yadav. And the one thing with Surya Kumar Yadav these days is if he plays a knock like this, it's not surprising. If he plays a knock like what he did in Mohali, that is surprising. A runner ball with shots that are probably in many ways very classic to nature, but it was great to see them do what they do.
Zach, just breaking it down one by one, we'll start with Shreyas because we spoke about it in the pre-match show, how he was coming in with a little pressure, if we can say. We spoke about maybe his mindset not being perfect in the last game, that run out that we saw. But we've seen the celebration. We saw what this 100 meant to him because he had to prove a point and he's done it.
Absolutely, because he's not been around for a while now because of the injury. He's not played a lot of cricket maybe in the last 8 months or so. So when you're looking at that kind of a situation, for your own good also, you need those runs under your belt. You need that much game time. You need to spend time out there in the middle. I'm sure in the simulation and the match practices which he must be doing as a part of his recovery process was kind of leading up to this. But still, at the highest level, with that kind of pressure, you want to feel good. And to add to that, now what are the things happening around? Like you are clearly talking about that one middle order spot which is up for grabs come the big tournament, and the others are actually pushing you for that. So as a cricketer, you got to again establish yourself of sorts. Once you have this kind of a big layoff from the game. So that's the situation Shreyas was in. We've seen how nicely KL Rahul did it. We've seen how nicely Ishan Kishan have been pushing for that spot. So all in all, when these kind of things are happening, the team benefits. Individual milestones are there for everyone, but you got to be part of that playing 11. And when you have people really fighting for that spot, you know that the team is in good space on the whole, and that's the beauty of it. I think at this stage, if anyone would be happy, is the team management, that they'll say that okay, we have such solid players, that's on paper, but these players are actually fighting for their spots and keeping up with their performances on the field. So that is going to put your team really in a good space getting into the big tournament. So yeah, Shreyas, it was great to see that he has also put his hand up, taken that responsibility, and the intensity which you are talking about, that relief which you are talking about. He thoroughly deserves that because every cricketer works hard for it, and when you go out there and achieve that, it's only fair for us to appreciate that, and for him to have that release. And I think that celebration was just the release of all that intensity, hard work, perseverance, which has gone in him getting there.
Absolutely, DK, but do you think this problem of plenty is going to be a headache for the selectors now?
Not for the selectors. I think this problem of plenty is for Rahul Dravid and Rohit Sharma, actually.
Yeah.
There is one slot at number 5. Who is going to be in that slot? And you'd rather be in this position where all 3 batters are firing, all 3 have different skill sets, all 3 bring something very different to the table, and you get to choose who needs to be that one player walking into Chennai on October 8th. So that's a good headache to have. It's a happy headache to have. It's a tough decision. The 2 who are going to be left out are going to be a little distraught at that point of time. But the World Cup is a long tournament. There are 9 matches. It's played over a month and a half. So there is enough time, you reckon, that they will all get an opportunity depending on who's doing what and what the venue is. So at this point of time, if we did see the pre-match show and one of the discussions we had about the stats about who all have done well, the one name that we missed out was Shreyas Iyer because he hadn't played so much. And even that name is going to come up on our stat very soon, which tells us that everybody's firing. So it's a good headache to have, and one that Team India would like to have, than the other way around when people don't have form and you're struggling to figure out who should be playing.
Zach, we've spoken so much about Gill, but it's never enough because he just keeps coming and proving himself over and over again. Today, again, like you said, he played a little differently. He was way more attacking, stepping out and hitting the fast bowlers. That one shot through the covers was beautiful that he hit, my favorite from the knock. But what can one say about Gill after these numbers?
Well, it's good to see that he's continuing with his form. He's having a phenomenal year, as we discussed before this match as well. He's chasing that number. There's no doubt about that, and I hope that he's keeping that number in mind and looking to better that. Because if he's thinking like that, he's definitely going to it's definitely going to benefit the team as well in the process. So that's how you look at it. Across format, you're having such a terrific time. He scored 100 in test matches. He scored a double 100 in ODI. Now he's consistently. So this was his 5th 100 for the season.
Yes.
So very consistent with run scoring. In franchise cricket also he scored 300s. I think what stands out for me is that he is a kind of a player who thinks of hundreds. And when you're thinking of hundreds, you naturally thinking of big innings. What was nice about today's innings was when Shreyas started to take the charge on the bowlers, he was not left behind. He understood that, okay, today is the day where you can actually put bowlers under pressure. It's the kind of ground where you can actually look to, it's a 6-hitting ground. So he was looking to take advantage of that. He was looking to step down and forcing the bowlers to bowl those short pitch deliveries, which he actually capitalized on with few sixes in that region as well over square leg. So that is the kind of mindset you have, and if you are in that positive, aggressive mindset, you will always stamp the authority on the game. And he's having that kind of a season. So hope the purple patch continues for him. And the top order batters, if you're thinking like that, it's always going to benefit the team, because in white ball cricket, you've seen the top 3 matters so much. But if top 3 are having this ability of scoring big runs, then it just helps your team to set a strong platform more often than not.
Yeah, set a strong platform and also give the liberty to the 5-6 to go and, hit it hard, which Sky did today, DK. I feel you spoke about how his Mohali innings was very unlike his usual innings. In today's innings, we saw the quintessential Sky scoops, and we saw that beautiful, the open face thing that he hits over covers, the shot that he hits over covers. So this was more a quintessential Sky knock.
when we associate Sky and we speak about his batting, the one that comes synonymously along with what Sky does is unorthodox shots. And the fact that he's able to scoop consistently between the keeper and fine leg is a very special shot. Not many people till today have been able to master that shot, because the positions that you need to get into to play that shot is a very tough one, and he does it very naturally because he's played a lot in his society where there's a lot of runs behind square on the leg side. He's developed that shot naturally, and his bat swing goes from down to up, which is a terrific skill to have, and he puts it to good effect. But what makes him really special is after that, when the bowler tries and goes outside the off stump, because they know he can't bowl on the stump, that's when he shows his skill and he goes over covers and he hits that shot so well that it becomes really hard for a bowler to bowl to him at the end stages of a game. He again started actually pretty slowly. He was 4 of 9, and then the way he made up with those boundaries post, that was pretty phenomenal, and that shows his skill. And I think he is going to be a key player for India when, in case they don't get the runs that they want through the middle, he could be the answer for them at some point in the World Cup, because the tempo at which he bats, he takes the team consistently to an above par score. And sometimes in India, you need to be doing that because a lot of the games could be hampered by dew, and if you're batting first, you want to be slightly above par, and Sky is the guy who can help you get there. You know, it's not easy doing what he does in the middle. If you can be 5 out of 10 is being consistent at that stage, and Sky gives you almost a 6 or 7 at times with the high tempo cricket that he's playing, and that's what makes him one of the most special batters in world cricket. I think after ABD has retired, in many ways, we all must say that Sky is the 360 player that we all look forward to in terms of batting at the end overs, and the kind of shots he's able to produce is gobsmacking, to say the least.
You know, DK, I completely agree. I feel like DK was saying that he's that X factor who gets India to a larger total. That's something that Dravid Agarkar said as well, that they've been backing him because they know at number 6 he can get India to that bigger total. So today from the 300 to the 400 was Sky's knock.
Yeah, and see, 200 plus strike rates, he's been doing it consistently whenever he's in. And that's his strength, and that's what DK is trying to mention, that, you know, for you to go above par totals, or if you have a strong platform getting into those back end of the innings, if he's there and if he plays most of it, then you know that your score is going to be above par. You're going to have that 30-40 runs cushion, and to achieve that, you know, he needs to be set. So the position which he's playing in ODI format right now is actually different to T20 format, but they're trying to create that similar kind of environment for him to flourish. So if that happens, that gives you that tactical advantage. I think what's going to be the case going in the World Cup is that you're going to have options, and that maybe one batting slot, they can look at it as a tactical slot, and have you know, 2 options for that, depending on the opposition they're playing, or depending on the dew factor, as DK was mentioning. Because if that is a factor, you need, if you happen to lose the toss and you're batting first, then you need to have cover for that, and he's the ideal guy. So add to this Hardik's power. You know, you can have that extended power at the back end of the inning, starting from KL. So that's where that tactical discussion and debate will happen, which is a good headache to have. You know, when you're looking at this playing 11 right now, you are looking at a batting lineup which is having enough game time, all the players having enough runs under their belts. So it's a nice situation for the team. It depends on how now they take advantage of this kind of a scenario, because this is a rare scenario for sure.
But did you think that he's going to get those 6 sixes? DK, for you as well, did you think he's going to get the 6 sixes?
I promise you, I really thought, only because of one person, Mr. Ravi Shastri was calling it at that point. Hence, I thought that probably it's just destined, that it is in the stars. But he bowled a really good ball, the 5th one. Short ball outside the off stump, and that is probably one of the toughest balls to hit for a 6. He, in fact, went for a 6, but he didn't connect it. And that was that in that over. But because he was an air, I thought for a second, maybe it would happen again.
Yeah, wasn't meant to be. But Zach, if you had to pick one from today's knock, from the 4, I know it's a tough one, but who would you pick?
But I think short over covers is always a difficult one. You know, any batter will vouch for that. That's not an easy shot to clear for a 6. So I think that shot is always going to be a special one for anyone. It was always It's always good to see that those kind of shots. See, for Surya, using the pace, getting under the ball and hitting it over square leg and fine leg is something which he does in his sleep also. But when he's hitting through offside and hitting those sixes, it's always great to watch.
DK, quickly, if you have to ask you your favorite out of the four innings from Gill, Iyer, Suryakumar Yadav and Shreyas.
Yeah.
For me, it was Shreyas Iyer only because of where he stands right now in the scheme of World Cup. There's a lot of questions asked, whether he's in form, whether he can do what he's required to do. But the way he came out there, all guns blazing, right from ball one with great intent, I quite enjoyed it. I feel bad for him towards the end. I think he purely got out because he had muscle cramps on his left hand and he just couldn't carry on after that. In many ways, he had given up, actually. And I feel bad for him because I think he could have easily scored a lot more. But just the intent that he showed from the outset was what I really liked. And that's the kind of player you want. Somebody who's going out there and not worrying about his place in the side, but trying to make a mark and doing it his own way. And that I really liked about Shreyas.
Well, on days like this, if I was given a choice, I would go on and on analysing. There's so much to talk about with the way everyone's played, but we have to also talk about the Australian bowling. I don't think anyone in the Australian team would want people to talk about the bowling today, because besides that one wicket, the first wicket of Ruturaj Gaikwad, which is a beautiful ball, and then Zampa getting a few to turn, there wasn't really to speak about, you think?
Yeah, I think that has been the case. Also, some good batting putting this bowling lineup under pressure. You rightly pointed out that Josh Hazlewood possibly was the pick of the bowlers who was troubling the batters. I just felt that as a whole, as a whole bowling unit, they were not able to understand maybe that when the reverse swing was on offer, they could have persisted with that. That's one of the main things you look for. If whatever is on offer on that particular day, you got to play with that and give yourself the best chance of getting the percentage in your favor. So when you look at it, that the reverse swing was happening, but bowlers are not backing themselves enough to use that, was something, a lesson for the bowling unit from today's outing. For sure, you've seen a lot of cutters. And that is not going to give you a chance of swinging the ball, right? The moment you are rolling your fingers over and scrambled seam, you are actually taking that option of allowing the ball to swing. If they had persisted with that, you've seen with this white Kookaburra ball when it's reversing, as a bowler also, you don't have to hide the shine. So for batter also, it's very difficult to pick. And you just got to back yourself. So Cameron Green also got some wickets, but was not really confident of bowling those Yorkers. So the batters took advantage of that. The wickets which he got was of cutters. Maybe there was a slight hold up in the pitch, but not alarming. Reverse swing was something on offer which they didn't really utilize it to the full potential today, I felt.
DK, it's very interesting what Zach says, because Pat Cummins, I read somewhere, made a statement that the shorter format, you get into bad habits of holding a cross seam and bowling. You don't let the ball swing so much, which you do in red ball cricket. Yeah. So do you think it's just these, he's used the word bad habits, but just a habit that you form when you play the shorter format?
When it comes to white ball cricket, everything that you do in test cricket, you tend not to do, which is to keep hitting length. A lot of the bowlers keep changing up their lengths. And that is going to be the biggest challenge for the modern day fast bowler. And you're going to constantly find complete purists for both red ball cricket and white ball cricket, because in red ball cricket, all you're trying to do is consistently hit a certain area, try and swing the ball and make sure you use the seam as much as possible and the shine of the ball. When it comes to white ball cricket, today is a great example, just as Zach pointed out. Even though there was a little bit of reverse swing on offer, the bowlers failed to use the advantage of the conditions to their own good, and they believed more in cutters, changing up lengths, because they felt probably that's the only way to defend and try and keep them to a small score. And this is going to be a challenge through the World Cup as well, how bowlers are clever in understanding what the ball is doing at different points of time and using that to their advantage. The higher skilled bowlers, you would have seen, if Pakistan was in play, we would have definitely seen them using the reverse swing a lot more, because they have air speed and they're somebody who's grown up in conditions which adhere to reverse swing a lot more. Whereas Australia, you don't get so much reverse swing, you get conventional swing. So when that happened, they held on to it, but they didn't really hold on to the fact that they could probably reverse the ball a lot longer, keep the seam upright and try and hit the stumps a lot more, which is a lesson in that, and also tells you how inexperienced their attack is, barring Hazlewood, who looked the best today.
You know, I'm been told not to continue, but I have to ask you this one question is that when you see that the ball is reverse swinging, like you said, they didn't use the conditions well. Is it something like the bowlers kind of just become defensive, saying we don't want to give too many runs away? And at that point, there should be probably a tactical decision to say that maybe let's be attacking because anyway you've gone for so many runs.
Well, to communicate that, I'll always talk about one line which basically says, play the game, not the format, right? So today, if the swing is on offer, then you just play with that. Like you just go with the game as the game is unfolding. You can't really plan all these things. If the conditions are allowing you to bowl those cutters, there is enough help in the pitch, and that's going to give you advantage of bowling on that pitch with the cutters, then that day the percentage of those deliveries need to be higher. That is your go-to ball maybe on that day, or get out of the jail delivery for you to just save the day. But if the swing is on offer, then you got to get the percentage right in that favor. So today, when you look at those deliveries which were bowled when the reverse swing was on offer, you are still getting just tempted to bowl those cutters because that was the plan which was done outside of the field. That is something which is decided leading into the game or according to the strength of the batter or something like that. But if the ball is swinging, it's a difficult delivery for anyone. If you get it right up there in the block hole, with the ball tailing a little bit. You've seen what happened with Smith also the other day, when Shami bowled that delivery, or later on when swing was on offer, he was doing the same thing what he would have done in a test match. Now, that is the advantage of a bowler who is playing all the formats, for him to understand that, okay, today is the day where I have to back myself and swing is on offer, so I can get away with the test match lengths even in this format. So you just back yourself and do that. End of the day, it's just about getting the percentage in your favor. Batters also look to do that. You avoid playing certain shots on a particular pitch. You have your options cut out, and on that day, on a particular bowler, you just back yourself to do those things and just minimize the risk. Get the percentage in your favor. It's the same with the bowler as well. So I think that one little piece Australian bowlers were missing today.
Well, I'm absolutely loving this and I'm geeking out because you have the Zaheer Khan explaining how you should use conditions. But I can't be asking all the questions. I know you all have a few questions. We've got to ask Cricbuzz live questions. So please, let's take it. Bridgie Savli asked this question. Watching highlights of India's 2007 World Cup triumph on this day 16 years ago, how was the celebration, DK? For us to repeat that win in 2023, any lessons from the 2007 triumph?
I reckon that was the biggest celebration I've been part of. Unluckily for 2011, when they won the World Cup, soon after IPL followed and they couldn't celebrate as much. But 2007, when that happened, we celebrated in Johannesburg on that day. But when we landed in Mumbai, now that is the celebration I've never encountered. Right from the airport all the way to Churchgate, which is at least about 16 kilometers that I know. The streets were filled. We had an open bus parade, and that was a day I can never forget in my life. It was raining. People were throwing garlands, throwing money. All sorts of things happened. We were all standing on an open bus stop. Quite an exciting journey that, and I don't think anybody in that team as well has experienced anything similar to that, because post that we went to the Wankhede Stadium. The ground was packed with people. I remember we had a small felicitation there as well. But the one thing that can be taken when it comes to what can be taken from 2007 to 2023 is the attitude. I thought that team played with a very fearless attitude. They had a good blend of young players and experienced ones, and everybody in that team had a point to make. Virender Sehwag before that was dropped in the international team, and he came back and showed why he was so good. Gautam Gambhir was batting really well. Yuvraj Singh was batting like a dream. But the one thing that they didn't do was let the fact that it was a World Cup affect them. They consistently played the kind of game that they are good at, and they express themselves to the T, with the fact that there were some youngsters chipping in at right moments of time. And if at all they can do one thing that we did really well in the 2007 World Cup, it is fielding. I thought we fielded the best in the whole competition, and that set us apart in that World Cup.
You know, DK, I was there at Wankhede Stadium in the crowd because I'd bunked college and I was there to welcome this team. It was just the biggest, the grandest celebration. But even 2011, Zach, I remember the traffic that was there to return back. I was again at Wankhede watching the game. But your thoughts on 2011, the celebration then?
Well, the celebrations, when you have such a victory, it's always a special one. You will not forget. for us to just get back in the hotel, back in the room was itself a mission. We couldn't get through the lobby. We had to be like the crowd had to be removed a little bit for us to just walk through. And then the celebration where it was planned, we couldn't do it because it was at the lobby level. So we had to figure out something upstairs. Some rooms were opened up and people were just kind of squeezed in, and yeah, celebrated pretty much all night.
It feels very special because I was that crowd who was pushed away, because I was that crazy fan who was there at the stadium when you all went there, when you all won in 2011. So it feels very special to be sitting with them. But we also, before we carry on with this, we have to also chat about the chase because we have a match on hand. So just, with Australia's batting, there's David Warner. We've spoken about him in the last game, how he's crucial to a chase. What do you think the approach David Warner is going to have?
Well, when you have such a total you're chasing, that itself take care of your mindset and attitude, right? As a batter, like I said, you got to play the game. So once now the game is started, it's the game which has decided now 400 is your target. Now as a batting unit, you got to figure out a way of getting to that total. And when you are talking about this kind of a total, you need 1-2 guys to have that impact and maybe make it count. You've seen it in the past. These big kind of totals can be a tricky one if someone gets going. The pressure is going to fall back, and for that Australia also need to look for someone who is going to play that 120, 150 run with a really good strike rate kind of an innings. And Warner possibly is one guy who has done it in the past as well for his team. So Australia will be looking at him setting that tone and putting bowlers under pressure.
DK, having said that they were a big target to chase, I think the last game that New Zealand played here was 387 they were chasing down. They fell short by I think 90 odd runs, but they came pretty close with the start that they got. So do you think the Indian bowlers will be feeling any pressure at all in spite of this big target, considering the ground is small, the conditions are so batter friendly?
There will be a lot of pressure for sure, only because when you're trying to defend a huge total, they are going to come hard. So the initial 5 to 8 overs will pretty much decide how that game unfolds. If they get going and they get a great start, then it's obviously you're always playing catch up. If you get a few wickets, then the game in many ways is already in your pocket. So the first power play, the 10 overs will pretty much decide how the bowlers are going to react from an Indian standpoint. And the lesser wickets we get, the more pressure on us. And as a batting unit, they need to work backwards. They need to believe that they can score 100, 120 in the last 10, which would mean that in the first 30 overs, even if they're somewhere around 200 or 210, it is very gettable in the end, because just like what Zach said, this is a 6 hitting ground. And the moment that happens, there's always pressure. At the start of an over, within the first 2 balls, if you're able to get a 6, then that tends to be a big over. And it is a very good possibility that can happen. India have only 5 bowlers, and out of that 2 are spinners. So there will be a little bit of pressure on India, but all of that will only work if Australia don't lose wickets. If Australia, because of the pressure, end up playing a few false shots and give away the wickets, then India will cruise home, I'm sure.
There is pressure on the bowlers, but I think we need to put a little pressure on ourselves as well, because our prediction games have just been terrible. I think 360 is what you said, but 40 runs is too much. We can't give you the 360 DK. So our predictions for the 10 at the 10 over point.
I'll go for 1085 for 2.
Oh, for 2, all right.
I'm going to go 1065. I think it's going to be a slow start is what I feel. Maybe 2 wickets, I agree with DK.
Okay, so 85-65, I'll go with 95, just so we have an exciting game on hand, because, we might as well have an exciting game on hand. What better way to enjoy a Sunday than have a nice run feast, and let's hope that it's a nice chase and it comes really close, because finally we want cricket to be a winner and India to be a winner, but first cricket to be a winner. That's all for now. Don't forget to join us at the 15 over point of the Cricbuzz Combox.